Hello guys and welcome back to the F1 Tube YouTube channel and welcome to my Spanish Grand Prix race review. Apologies for this video being uploaded later than my usual standards, but anyway, let's crack into my review. What a masterful drive by Lewis Hamilton. After an inadequate qualifying session from the Brit yesterday, he stormed towards his third victory of 2019. Now that is the Lewis Hamilton of 2018. Getting out in front, absolutely dominating his teammates, and Bottas was dominated by Hamilton. It weren't the fact that he lost out on the start. Hamilton had Bottas covered in all areas. But Bottas is still very much in this championship fight, coming home P2 and completing Mercedes' fifth 1-2 in a row. I mean, this is just getting ridiculous now. Ferrari once again have disappointed, and my words, did they really stitch themselves up with the whole team orders situation. For me, they were way too conservative in terms of telling their drivers to get out of the way. If they were more aggressive, you know, I kind of feel like they could have got a podium, and I do feel they had the pace to get the podium, but neither driver really set blistering pace throughout the Grand Prix. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how the race unfolded for Ferrari. I'll just note that Vettel locked up into turn 1 on the first lap going for the lead, flat spotted his tyres, and there were other variables which really formed and shaped a miserable day for the Scuderia. After the madness that lap 1 conveyed, Max Verstappen got himself up to P3 and stayed there really for the rest of the race. I wouldn't say it was a phenomenal drive from the Dutchman. I think he benefited a lot from lap 1, and I wouldn't say he had blistering pace from there on in, but I guess it was a very mature drive and a great result. And Gasly, I thought, had a decent Grand Prix for his standards in 2019. The top 5 wasn't exactly dropping him. I mean, the two Ferraris of Vettel and Leclerc, they wasn't dropping him at the start. It was clear that he was always going to finish 6th, but when Gasly's getting the P6s for the team, I guess the team can be somewhat satisfied. Renault did try an alternative strategy with Nico Hülkenberg, but the pace in the Renault throughout the entire Grand Prix was just not good enough, and Monaco is a big weekend for the team. Haas were not clearly the 4th quickest car on race day, but Magnussen came home P7, best of the rest. Grosjean did struggle after the safety car near the end of the race and really lost out. He should have got P8, but he really struggled with his tyres, but at least Haas are back to somewhat good form. Carlos Sainz continued his superb form around the circuit to Barcelona Catalonia with 8th place. A great drive from the Spaniard at his home Grand Prix, but Norris really did have a miserable race. He had a dreadful start and then was knocked out of the race after colliding with Racing Point's Lance Stroll. I feel like Norris was more to blame, but I think it was like a 60-40 situation. I feel like Norris's experience really let him down. He should have backed out of it, but Lance Stroll didn't exactly give him a massive space. But then I think about it again, and then I'm really looking at Lance Stroll being at fault. It's a really awkward one. I think I'm going to have to settle on a racing incident on this one, but going back to Racing Points, they just had no pace. Absolutely no pace. The start was going to be the key for them. Lance Stroll did get a good start, but it wasn't enough. Race day was always going to be a struggle for Alfa Romeo, and I think they're glad it's over because the pace of that car throughout the weekend was just not good enough. Danny Kvyat was able to salvage back P9 at the end of the race, overtaking Romain Grosjean. He also performed a superb overtake on Kimi Räikkönen round the outside of turn 4. He came home P9. Great points for the Russian. Alexander Albon couldn't get the points. He really needs to build up momentum going forwards. But that Toro Rosso car is one of the most consistent in the midfield. On race day, they really just need to execute it, and they will be right in the hunt for, let's say, 6th or 7th, not just 9th. And Williams, with his 3rd win of 2019, Lewis Hamilton moves back up to the top of the drivers' standings. He has 112 points, 7 more than teammate Valtteri Bottas. Verstappen seizes 3rd in the standings from Vettel. Leclerc is 5th with Gasly 6th, and rounding out the top 10 we have Magnussen, Perez, Raikkonen and Lando Norris. Mercedes' domination is becoming obscene right now. After round 5, they are 96 points clear of second place Ferrari. This is a team that are in their element. They are one of the greatest teams in the history of F1. Red Bull are third on 87, then we have McLaren Racing Point, Haas, Alfa Romeo, Renault, Toro Rosso and Williams. And it may become a surprise to you guys what I said earlier when I said Toro Rosso is one of the most consistent cars in the midfield when they're ninth in the standings. They don't have the quickest car in the midfield from time to time, but they just are consistent and they will not finish ninth if they continue like this. Max Verstappen was awarded Driver of the Day and I have to disagree. Yes, it was a great drive to get onto the podium, but I feel like there were better performances on the track like Kvyat, like Hamilton and like Carlos Sainz. Yes, his pace was not blistering, but he got his elbows out in defence and when going for overtakes he was clinical. But I do tell you, Lewis Hamilton was so close to being my driver of the day. Now I'm going to rate this Grand Prix a 6.5 out of 10. The first 10-15 laps were lacklustre, but with all the team orders and some really good midfield battle as we do get consistently, and obviously after the safety car, which was a lot of madness, trust me, I could feel the adrenaline. I think it was a decent race. It wasn't the worst race of all time, and it definitely wasn't the best, but I do feel it was a decent race. But guys, that is it for today's video. Please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and until next time guys, see you later.